he took the opportunity to jump in on that guy's complaint. So now I got two people just crying. We had a league vote and we kicked him out of the league.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Armin, and this is the Credible Commish, a series where we celebrate the backbone of fantasy sports, commissioners who run their leagues the right way. Today, we have Rocco from Fourth and Fantasy. What's going on, man?
Oh man, I'm ready for this NFL draft because this is going to be a very very long couple of weeks here. Just feels like we're kind of getting to that point where even the players we love, we start trying to find stuff to nitpick about them, try to find those warts. And I'm just ready for these guys to get, landing spots, draft capital, and then that will inform my takes that much better on these guys.
Oh yeah, man. We're like what? We're like a week and a half away. Oh man, it's so close. I'm excited. Well, first off on the show, we like to get to know the person behind the commissioner. So, Rocco, tell them where you're from. I don't need to ask who your team is, it's right there on your head. But I'd like to know why. Why are they your team?
Um, because I'm from New Orleans and um, they just been my team for for a very long time. One of my first, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. One of my first football memories is watching Bobby Abear in a playoff game against the Eagles throw three interceptions
Oof.
and totally blow what could have been our first playoff win. Um, that team had one of the best defenses you've ever seen. The Dome Patrol with you know three damn near Hall of Fame linebackers, Sam Mills, Pat Swillen, and those guys. Um, you know, uh, it, I mean, why do you like the Seahawks? It's just been my team for as long as I can remember.
Damn, that's going deep. Oh, Bobby Aher. I haven't heard of him. Is that
Bobby Abear, man,
Bobby
he's
Aher?
one of the best. Spelt like Herbert, like Justin Herbert, but it's Abear down here in New Orleans, and well, he's actually from the Bayou.
Oh wow.
He's from Louisiana. He's not from New Orleans, but he does have a restaurant. Bobby Abear's down here. It has one of the best Bloody. I don't drink Bloody Marys, but the Bloody Mary is like a whole meal. It's got shrimp in it. It's got crab cakes. It's got all kind of shit in it. You can have that for a whole meal, but uh, you know, better restaurant than a football player because he threw so many backbreaking interceptions in the playoffs. He pissed us off so bad. He's actually still the radio host down here, and he gets shit faced for the Saints games, and he starts having that Cajun accent come off, and he's talking about the Carolina Pandas. Um, shit like that. But he's, by the end of the game, he's like falling on the floor drunk on the radio down here.
Dang man, I gotta go out there and catch a Saints game. I actually did last, was it 2024? I did in 2024. Watched the game against the Panthers. I love the Superdome. Tell me about how many times you've been there. Like, what are some favorite memories in the Superdome?
Mm. Actually, what's pretty cool is I actually kind of work part time down there at the Superdome. So I'm not a season ticket holder, but I pretty much catch every game. And
Wow.
man, it he didn't play well, but Tyler Shuck's first action against the Bucks after Spencer Rattler kind of shit the bed. He played terribly for a few weeks in a row, and Tyler Shuck came in there, and the rest is history. I mean, he didn't play that well in that game. He didn't play it, too well in the next week against the Rams, but against those Carolina Pandas, he really showed me something. He beat the division champion in their first game down there in Carolina. So that was pretty cool. I mean, uh, one time my daughter was the junior T girl, and she got to
Oh wow.
run the ball out to midfield. Right before they had kickoff, and she she ran out there. That was cool, but she didn't know she had to run off the field, so they had to kind of guide her off the field before the people started. Before the players on special teams started running down the field. So that was pretty cool. But a lot of cool memories down there.
Wow, man. You got a lot of family involved in the organization. That's awesome. Great to hear. Great to hear. So the future is bright. Just shuck the new breeze.
I wouldn't say he's the new Breeze, but he's the franchise quarterback. People that doubt him being the franchise quarterback, I just laughed. I'm just like, look at the tape, watch some of his games. Um, you know, let's put it into context. This team was supposed to be a total rebuild. We were supposed to be in the running for Nussmeier before he fell off, at LSU this year. But this year was about finding a quarterback, and we have found money. We have a franchise quarterback in the second round, which is pretty awesome. I think he won like 5 out of his last 7 games.
Hmm.
For a rebuilding team, a team that lost Alvin Kamara, was decimated, across the board. For him to win games with this team, shows how bright the future is with him.
I agree. And you got ETN coming or HN coming to
Whatever he wants
town.
to be called, just score some touchdowns, man.
Awesome, man. Well, let's switch gears. Let's go into more fantasy related topics. How did you first get into fantasy football?
I guess I heard about it from some friends, and probably about 20 years ago. This was not quite, some of the real old school guys tell you how they used to do it with newspapers and shit. It wasn't
Yeah,
like that. There was still like a website, but back then we did all of our drafts live. There wasn't like, nobody shows up to a live draft and everybody just does it from their phone. It wasn't any of that. But we drafted at a bar, that you go up with the stickers and stick the names on the. I know people are
yeah,
still doing that, but that was like, that was how we always did it back then. But always been a lifelong football fan. So I was hearing about people playing, and I had to get in there, and I sucked. I sucked at fantasy football probably from like my first 5 years of doing it.
you mentioned you became a commissioner of some of your leagues. How many leagues do you commission now?
I want to say 6. Some I co-commission with my good friend and co-host Huncho. He helps me. Especially some of those leagues, that are still stuck in league safe hell because I hate dealing with it. So I'll always get somebody to help me out with the collection portion of draft, especially for my internet friends. But locally, I got two with people I know, where we still collect via, Venmo, PayPal, with a Cash App. Um, but yeah, I think I run about 6 now. I probably should have looked, but think
No
about
worries.
6. But there's so many leagues where you're like, where it's like 3 people doing stuff. So probably 6 where I'm like, the head honcho of commission in that league.
I see. So you mentioned you first started out and you sucked. Like, how did you
Oh, I
first make your
sucked.
yeah? How'd you first make your way to become a commissioner? Did they just trust the guy who didn't play well, or you work your way to the top there?
Well, no, like it was one of those things where if you build it, they will come. Um, you know, I'd played, redraft leagues for I don't know 10 years, 8 years, and but I was hearing about people playing this new form of football, fantasy football called Dynasty League football, but nobody I knew played that type of football, and this was before you had you know your chat rooms, your discords, where people are inviting you to a league every 5 minutes. This was, before some of those websites, before those technologies. So I had a group of maybe 8 of us that really wanted to play, but nobody wanted to take the responsibility of being the commissioner. So I said, "Shit, fuck it, I'll do it because I really want to play this type of this type of format." So I started the Super Friends Fantasy Football Dynasty League. I think we are hitting 10 years this upcoming season.
Oh
So
wow,
we've lost a lot of people along the way. I think we still have maybe a core 6 left. But
pretty good.
yeah, keeping a dynasty league together is a lot of work in the off season.
Similar to me, that was my first time commissioning. I had the same exact story. I wanted to play Dynasty. If you build it, they will come. So that's awesome to hear. What keeps you coming back every year commissioning?
It's not. I don't. It's a like a love hate relationship with commissioning because you're in charge, but any problem that happens in the league, you're the one in charge of putting those fires out. Everybody's been in that league where the commissioner's hard to find, and people are making like crazy weird trades, possible colluding type trades. People are arguing in the group chat, and the commissioner is nowhere to be found. The commissioner, doesn't respond to trade offers. So basically, if I started the league, I'll see it out to its completion. The league is only as good as the guys you have in it. That's the part that intrigues me, and intrigues me to have like the perfect league. Like you make small rule changes, and one of the things I do is any rule changes, that definitely has to be voted on.
Mhm.
I don't come in there like, I don't like this rule, so we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. No, if it changes, it has to change, via vote. If somebody's like really, really strong against it, we may just like, shelf it. But those are some of the things I like about commission, and just it's not necessarily being the king of the league. It's just keeping good, healthy leagues running, and keeping a good group of guys together.
That's right. Like keeping a good group of guys, league is great. But you mentioned you've had trouble keeping a dynasty league together for a decade, which is already a great accomplishment. Um, have you had any big league controversies or drama that you've had to deal with?
Um, I almost had one of my best friends stop being my friend over. Okay, so one of my pet peeves that I like to implement in all of my leagues is the sixth place points wild card.
Mm,
Um, which is like a precursor to people playing where the league median. I don't really care for the league median because I think it skewers the records of teams.
mm,
But what I do is I have a sixth place points wild card, and that what that basically means is the first 5 teams get in on record with a points tiebreaker, and the sixth team gets into the playoffs with the most points outside of that top 5.
mm,
Well, this had been a rule in my Super Friends League for basically since inception, and this guy even got. It's like my best friend too, so it's kind of crazy how it went down. But um, you know, this guy even got into the playoffs, with the 6 place points wild card. But one year he got taken out because he was in sixth place on records, but he didn't have the points to get into the playoffs.
Mm.
And boy, he he blew up the league chat for about a week, and it wouldn't have been that bad, but they had one other guy in the league, um, who was one of his friends. Like he's okay, but like he's more of the guy that was having the problem. It was more his friend,
Mm.
and this guy always complained about everything. He's just one of those guys that just always complains and is just sour about anything. You
Yeah.
know, if a trade goes down that he doesn't like, he complains that it should be voted against. You know, even when it's like a 60-40 trade, it's like not anybody got screwed. But he took the opportunity to jump in on that guy's complaint. So now I got two people just crying for like a week straight, so bad that I didn't kick my friend out because I felt like I can get to him, but the other guy, we had a league vote, and we kicked him out of the league.
Ooh.
Goodbye.
It was just too much drama.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like he's in like a basketball league that I commission, and he's always like, "You're not going to throw me out of this league." I said, "No, if you don't bitch the whole season, I won't. You know, I don't get paid for this shit, so it's like, you know, you took the enjoyment out of fantasy football. Like, I would rather just shut this shit down and hear complaints all season because I try to keep everything above board. If you're trying to find something that I'm doing wrong, we can vote on it. But you know, I'm trying to win fairly. I'm not trying to, you know, get over on anybody. And for you to keep, you know, insinuating that I am, you know, that's offensive. So he got kicked out of the league.
It's
He still he still asks me every once in a while, you know, if he's gonna get kicked out of the basketball league. No,
oh
bro,
man.
just don't blow up the league chat with bullshit.
So it sounds like, as a commissioner, you have to enforce rules, but you kind of also have to enforce culture and keep things fun. And so you made the hard decision to like, hey, this guy's bringing the fun down and kind of not bringing a culture we don't want. So, you know,
And I still didn't do it unilaterally. I
ah,
held the vote off of the league page with everybody, and you know everybody agreed with me. Like, if it's not fun anymore, then you know we have to remove the an element that's making it not fun for anybody.
100%, man. That's what good commissioners do, and you know that story is more common than you think, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I hated
good
doing it,
job.
but you know that league would not still be around today if he'd stayed in it. And I tell him
Nice.
to his face, like you were just miserable for the 2 years you were in it.
Nice, man. Well, let's move on to something a little more fun. Some rapid fire questions on the upcoming season, because commissioners are players as well. So let's get into some football talk. Who's your QB1 this season?
QB1 in dynasty
Let's
or
say
redraft.
in points scored, or like who's going to be the top performing QB this season?
Well, if you'd asked me this a month ago, I would have told you he's getting fairly washed. He doesn't have the wheels he used to have, but you know, seeing him get a new coaching staff, young, hot, well, I don't know what he looks like, but it's a hot assistant, you know, hot OC coming in, you know, from the Ben Johnson system, Declan Doyle, and seeing him come in early in camp, motivated, you know,
Mm,
working his
mhm.
ass off, you know, that's something he hasn't done in a while. And I understand it because he got blackballed by the league, you know, a couple years ago when he had his contract coming up and nobody would give him a contract, and they started talking about that wide receiver shit again,
Oh
which
yeah,
was obviously, you know, uh, the league is, you know, under investigation right now because of some of the weird stuff they do with players,
oh,
especially with the players union. That's a whole nother thing for a whole nother show. But Lamar Jackson is gonna have a monster season, MVP.
Nice. My Lamar Jackson shares are happy to hear that. Who's your RB1?
I don't know how you go with anybody but Bijan at this point.
Wide receiver one.
It's
Sounds like
gonna
it's
have to
gonna
be
be a
Puka.
dog.
Somebody's at the house. Oh man, I wish I had a more of a hot take, but it's got to be Puka for me. Even
Luca.
with all of his problems, he's gonna come out and show he's not guilty by putting up monster numbers out there.
Who's on your do not draft list?
Mm,
Let's say
the
redraft for this purpose.
I'm not touching Marvin Harrison or Roma Dunze.
Okay. No breakout seasons or comeback seasons for them.
That is the number three in their team on their
Mm,
teams.
all
I'm a
right.
big, I'm a big pie guy. I don't see the pie for those guys.
Mm. What's your favorite fantasy football format?
Mm, I mean, it's easily dynasty. I mean, I'm in 30 dynasty leagues
Oh,
and one redraft. So the only reason I come back to redraft is because I've won this redraft league 4 out of 6 years and they give away trophies. So that's pretty cool. I refuse to buy myself a trophy or a belt. Um, with my internet leagues, but if you're going to give me a trophy, I'll take it.
that's the couple back there. I see. Yeah, that's some good hardware. Man, I don't have one. I've
That's what I'm
only got
talking
one
about.
championship in my life, and that was like a traveling trophy. So,
Nice.
um, predict the Saints' record this year.
I don't want to get too over my skis, but I think they're going to be slightly over 500, and they're going to compete for the division title this year. I think they're going to go 9-8.
9-8. Fair prediction for an
I mean, they're
NFC
going to win the
South winner.
championship. They're going to win the championship, obviously, but
Ooh,
um,
there you
I'll say
go.
9-8. I'll say 9-8. I don't want to
Since
come off
since you got the
too
Saints, you got the Saints
homerish.
winning it all. Who's on the other side of the bracket? Who's on the other side of that field when they win the Super Bowl?
Well, like I said, this is the most motivated Lamar Jackson's been in years.
Mm,
I think they finally get to a Super Bowl. I think they were tired of Harbaugh's messaging in the locker room, and they needed some new voices in there. And they're one of the most talented teams in the league. So if you get a motivated Lamar Jackson, I think he I think they get to the Super Bowl.
man, you heard it here first. Ravens versus Saints. Get your bets in. That's gonna be an interesting one to watch, man. Bringing it back, bringing it back to fantasy football commissioning. Like what is something that you've seen that you think is just like, wow, that's awesome. That commissioner is going above and beyond for that league.
I always like when I see it might be a small thing, and I could do better to do this myself. Is when you join a league and they have they have the league rules, whatever you want to call it. They have a giant PDF with basically any question you can think of. I always think that's pretty cool. Um, but for me, commish should almost be like referees. Like they're doing their job when you don't notice them that much.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's a thankless job, but if I'm always arguing with the commissioner, or he's changing rules willy nilly with no warning, with no league input, or doing weird stuff that makes him that makes his team better, then that's obviously not a good commissioner. But just a commissioner that just kind of has their shit together and has easy to find rules. That that's always an above and beyond commissioner for me.
I know you mentioned you always do super flex, but maybe more along the commissioning side. Like, what is one league rule every commissioner should adopt?
Mm. Uh, I mean, I think I've said it quite a few times, but the sixth place points wild card, I'm very passionate
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Um, just because I've been in leagues, I know a lot of people have been in leagues where you had a good season. Like your team may have had the most, second most, third most points in the entire league, but you had bad schedule luck. And every week you were getting everybody's best game. You were scoring 150, but your opponent was scoring 165, 170, and you're getting beat on a week to week basis. And you might not even have had a 500 record at the end of the season, but you may have outscored the sixth place team by 500 points. Now you tell me which is the better team. I think
Hmm.
I think that I think the strength of a team is basically basically how many points they scored, because I can't control what the other team scores against me. All I can do is control. All I can do is score as many points as possible on a week to week basis. So I think that sixth place points wild card leads to a stronger field. And a lot of times when it's by record, it's almost a foregone conclusion that that third seed's just going to smash that sixth seed. But you know
Hmm.
when it's a sixth place points wild card, you better come correct, because that sixth place team, their luck might be about to change in the playoffs. I've seen a lot of teams, get in, via that route and win championships, and I think it's real cool.
I agree. My longest running home league does the same. It keeps things interesting at the end of the season for sure. So, Rocco, you've told us you've managed difficult situations. You've dropped some knowledge on how to commission leagues correctly. Can you sum it up in like maybe a couple sentences? What makes a credible commish?
I think a credible commish is just one that'll be there when they need to be there. A credible commish is also uh, an active participant in the league. They're playing just as hard as anybody else in that league. When you need a question answered, um, you know they don't make you wait weeks and weeks, and you don't have to tag them over and over again to get an answer. I'd say credible fantasy commissions, one that runs a democracy, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Lets everybody kind of have their say. That's what it is for me. I feel like if I really push a rule change, people will listen to me because they know I'm above board with everything. Also, a good commission is one that stands up and puts out the fires, takes care of the bullshit in the league. So it means a lot of things for a lot of people, but I think at the end of the day, a good commish runs great leagues.
100%. Great having you on the show. What are you looking forward to the most this upcoming season?
I'm looking forward to this draft.
Okay, not even the
Because
season. You're
once the
looking for.
once the draft happens, like everything goes in the hyperdrive. The content goes in the hyperdrive. Probably 60-70% of my leagues start running rookie drafts. So once that NFL draft happens, and some leagues even start the rookie draft as soon as the NFL draft starts. So. Uh, you know, I'm just looking forward to the NFL draft, and after the NFL draft, I'll be looking forward to the start of the regular season. So the milestone right now is the NFL draft.
There you go. Focused on directly what's ahead. That's awesome. Rocco, appreciate you sharing your story. Every great league has a credible commissioner behind it, and you're clearly one of them. Tell the audience what you've got going on. How's fourth in fantasy? Tell them about it.
Yeah, fourth in fantasy, man. We put up 1 to 2 podcasts a week, and that's our baby. That's me and Huncho. Huncho will be a future guest. He's a great commissioner in his own right. But yeah, we're just cranking out content at fourth in fantasy. Fourth in fantasy. You can find us there. You can join our Discord. That's also fourth in fantasy. Maybe you can find the link on this podcast. You can find me. My name's right there, Siriaco Solar FF. That's my personal Twitter. You can find us on at Fourth and Fantasy on Twitter. But yeah, the YouTube and the Discord. That's our baby right now, and that's what we're most focused on.
Awesome, man. I definitely catch a few when I can. Great stuff put out by Rocco and Huncho, so be sure to check them out. There'll be details in the video description below. Great show, great having you here. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, good luck this draft.
Yes, sir.
All right, peace.